Hello and welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined by Matt and Shad. I hope you enjoyed our little pre-show discussion over the intro, but it happens. Um, so we have a show for you tonight. So we're going to be talking about the WrestleMania main event. We're going to be talking a little AEW, and we're going to start off and we're going to talk about, I guess, kind of what we would say is I'm going to make a statement and we're going to see about if we can support it. So I'm going to say WrestleMania 17 is still the best WrestleMania and that WrestleMania 15 is still the worst WrestleMania. So let's tackle 17 first because I think that's a non-contentious statement to say it's still the best from top to bottom.
I'm going to pull the card up here.
So you have Austin beating Rock for the world title. Undertaker beat Triple H. I think you have the it was like a two falls match with Angle, Benoit, and Jericho, where Angle had the European title and IC title, and then each fall was for one belt. And then you had the old gimmicks battle royal that Iron Sheik won because he couldn't take the bump out of the ring. Was this the one where Kane was on the golf cart or whatever in the hardcore match?
Clicked on the wrong one. That's 7, not 17. It's very different.
Yeah, it's a very different show. Not a bad show. 7's decent.
Yes, that had the golf cart with Raven and Big Show for the
hardcore title, wasn't it?
Damn it, the hardcore title, yeah.
And then that had was that the first tables, ladders, and chairs with the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys?
Looking at it right now.
I don't, I guess I don't know.
It was TLC with them.
It was TLC, and at the time, even though this was at basically the end of ECW, so we had seen crazy stuff, but I don't know. I feel like it was like almost innovative. They were just doing so many crazy spots, and it was like
it's because
it was. I was wowed. Like it was fantastic.
Because I don't think we'd seen that in like ladder matches and stuff before. Like we'd seen like stupid stuff like New Jack diving off of balconies, but I don't think we'd seen like the crazy stuff in ladder matches. Because if you go back and watch like Michaels and Razor, I think Michaels might have done like an elbow drop off the ladder, but not like off the top of the ladder. And I don't think they did anything crazy like bumps off the top of the ladder to the floor or anything like that. So I think the first like Hardy's, Edge and Christian ladder match in like 99 was like a big deal because that might have been 2000. The first time they did a ladder match and they were doing like bumps off the ladder and stuff, I think was really crazy at the time, especially for a WWE audience.
Also, that TLC match was a grand total of 16 minutes. So all that bonkers stuff took place in a relatively short amount of time.
I think it's what's amazing.
Pacing up.
If you watch that show, I bet the main event was like 20-ish minutes, and today it would
28.
be like,
it was 28,
and it didn't feel bloated at the time. I think that's my problem with a lot of promotions now. Versus back then, is the main events get really bloated. WWE is super guilty of this, but it's been true of other promotions where it's like I really don't need a 40-minute main event every time, guys.
So one of the things, just from looking at the card, that I'm getting from this is that the pacing is really good, because what happens is as you go through this, you start with, oh God, okay.
Was it head cheese?
No, it was Steve Blackman and Grandmaster Sexay versus X Factor.
Oh God, X Factor.
Yeah.
That was the worst
buddy.
intro music. They had like the worst string of intro music ever because they had like the
Uncle Cracker,
and then they had like a generic one they did that was equally as
Uncle Cracker reference. I haven't heard that name in like 20 years.
The guy that defaced Adobe Gray Classic because he wanted to do it. Anyway, they do that one. They go into Jericho versus Regal for the IC title. Then it goes into a 6-man tag. Then it goes into that crazy triple threat hardcore match that goes all over the damn building.
Mhm.
So that's Raven, Kane, and Big Show. So you got to have Raven be very creative with what he was gonna do because, well, he had to do something to stand out.
Well, it's
Then it
like
goes
one of the
into
3 matches he got to wrestle in his WWE run that time.
yeah. Then it was Eddie Guerrero versus Test for the European title, Angle versus Voldemort, China versus Ivory, Shane McMahon versus Vince, and then the TLC, then the Gimmick Battle Royal, then Taker over Trips, and then the main event.
You know what
And
makes
so
me
what
mad
happens
is they edited that show because if you watched
Okay.
it live during the Test Eddie Guerrero match, there's a point where they're doing something out of the ring and Eddie goes to get out of the ring and he trips on the rope and he just falls on his face outside of the ring, and they edited that out of all the shows, and you can only see it if you watched it live or have like a live VHS of it, and it was
Yeah.
hilarious at the
I-
time.
I did watch this live. Like, I ordered this live, and this is
Yeah, I
one of
did
the
too.
pay-per-views actually. And I remember losing my mind in it, like at the whole show. Like it was so good.
So in looking at it, it's the pacing is really good because they vary up what happens through the course of it. It's not just the same stuff all the time. So you're able to have like where it shifts gears enough, it keeps things feeling fresh. Whereas if you look at 15, let me grab the lineup for 15.
Oof.
You know what else I think is
yeah.
interesting about 17 is if you
So-
looked at that card in a vacuum with no year on it, you could probably nail the year down to a 3-year period. Whereas if you took the card from any of the last like 12 Manias, you would have trouble
Mhm.
putting a year on it unless you remember
So-
like a specific thing. Just going by the people on the card.
So 15 was
15's
God.
bad.
15's
real
bad.
bad.
So it starts with Jacqueline versus Ivory. And look, I mean, both at the time they were the two top female workers they had in the company, but that's your open, and it's kind of like, we doing that. Battle Royal to determine number 1 contenders to the tag titles. D'Lo Brown and Test win when Draws and the Godfather eliminate each other. So these two guys who get the number 1 contender shot don't even actually win it. They just happen to win by
I'm
accident.
pretty sure this was on Heat. These 2 matches.
Yeah, you're right. They were. Opening match on the show, Hardcore Holly defeats Billy Gunn and Al Snow for the Hardcore title. I win the belt and beat everybody, Hardcore Holly. Which it would not shock me if that, as a hardcore match, just sucked. And it was just, they wander around and hit each other with the lids off the trash cans the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, and like, I mean,
Yeah.
even if like you're not utilizing Billy Gunn at least to his strength in a hardcore match,
No.
and I would
then,
actually say you're you're not utilizing Hardcore Holly correctly in that instance either.
No. Then Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett defend the tag titles against D'Lo and Test, which of course they do. That match, by the way, the battle royal to determine the number 1 contenders was 4 minutes 14 seconds. The match Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett defeating D'Lo and Test was 3:58. Yeah, well, it's very clear that nobody gave a shit about the tag titles at the time. Match number 5, Butterbean defeats Bart Gunn by KO
God, I
in
forgot that
35
was-
seconds in a Brawl for All match, which was just a collection, just an entire collection of stupid horse shit.
You know what's sad about that that dark side of the ring about the Brawl for All is like Vince Russo comes across as the reasonable person in that whole thing when like Cornette and Ross are like whining endlessly about how Dr. Death Steve Williams would have been the biggest thing ever. And then Russo's like, look, I know Dr. Death was a big star in his day, but he was past his prime at this point, and like he wasn't gonna be like a big difference maker. And I'm like, dear God, how out of touch are the two of you that Vince Russo sounds like he knows what he's talking about more than you do.
He was
Brad,
right.
I'm going to be honest, Brad. I don't think we watched the same thing because while yes, the goal was for Dr. Death to win it, I'm watching this and I'm hearing Ross and Cornette go, "This is stupid," and people getting hurt for this dumbass, stupid idea. Where we point at the rest of the card and say, "Oh, that's fake," but this right here is real. And you put on boxing matches that people didn't tune into wrestling to watch. But
yeah, but I'm talking
sorry.
about their opinion of Dr. Death, because even at the time, is not like someone that was smartened up. I didn't think Dr. Death was a good fit. And this is you're talking about like 17-year-old me that really didn't know the ins and outs. I was like, he's not really like a WWE guy. And they're like, oh no, we're going to have him challenge for Austin. I'm like, that would have died horribly.
Yeah. They had all sorts of like ideas, and it's like, look, I love Dr. Death. I think Dr. Death, but Death was great. Like, but his best stuff was like in Japan.
And he just didn't have
like
he didn't have
he's just not a fit.
No, because he's a very
not at all.
He's got a certain kind of charisma. He's got a certain kind of body charisma, but he doesn't have the gravitas that you need to be a top of the line like WWE heel. He doesn't have the flair. He doesn't have like he's not larger.
He was
than
not
life.
a character.
Yeah,
he was not a character.
And I just don't
His
think
gimmick was, hey, I'm a big dude that beats people up and does the Oklahoma Stampede and the Doctor Bomb. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, especially at this time, it's like, well, what's your gimmick? And it's like, I'm a tough guy that beats people up and does the Doctor Bomb. You know,
remember, like for a time when he first debuted, didn't they have him put on like a Japanese like Oni mask when he came out and then like would take it off? Like I feel like that. I swear to God, I feel like I remember that.
You should not remembering like when they brought Giant Bernard back and like totally botched him.
Well, as Lord Tensai.
Yeah. I just don't think like even at the time, I was just like he's not like a WWE guy like. And then when they're talking about how he's going to challenge Austin, like you would have not been able to get him over. Like I'm sorry, like I'm a Dr. Death fan. I think he's great. I love him in a lot of stuff, but he just wouldn't have worked in WWE. And we talk about that a lot, and I don't like. I know we like to shit on WWE, but I don't think they could have done. He just wouldn't work.
There are some people who are a good fit there. Like, for example, someone who's there that I like. I like Xavier Woods. I actually like him quite a bit. I like his ring work. I don't think he would be a good fit in other companies. And so he is where he needs to be. That's great. Even if I don't like the product, I still like him. Next match on the 15 card was Mankind defeats Big Show by disqualification to be the special guest referee in the main event.
I think that happened with, I think Big Show, like, ended up with Mick Foley going through a chair for the DQ, and I don't remember if it was, like, on Big Show's back, or I don't remember how it happened. I just remember a chair got broken in that process, and it was really lame.
Yeah. And that the stipulation also ended up being incredibly stupid, too.
And Big Show had been there for 2 months at this point, and he'd already lost, like, every big match he'd been in.
Yeah, they took the shine off of him real quick. Next match, Road Dogg defeats Goldust, Ken Shamrock, and Val Venus for the Intercontinental title.
And I'm pretty sure Goldust wins it the next night, so this was all mute anyway. And this is like when they completely devalued the whole belt, because this goes like Val Venus, then I think Road Dogg, then some form of Godfather, and Goldust win it when they weren't like really seen on that level, and then I don't remember who got it after that.
Like, out of everybody in that match, Shamrock, Venus, and Goldust had like this story going, and then Road Dogg just happens to be the champion there. It's like,
well, remember Vince Russo had this brilliant idea why this show is such a failure. So going into this, the programs were Billy Gunn and Ken Shamrock were feuding for the IC title, and then I think Val Venus was involved too. So it was kind of the three of them. And then Road Dogg was feuding with Hardcore Holly and Al Snow over the Hardcore title. And like Russo got the brilliant idea like a week or two out before the show, when your hype's already been done, that they're going to win the belt that the other guy was feuding for right before the big show.
Because it'll be a shock and no one will see it coming.
Yeah. Yes, swerve those fans.
And I think it was actually really stupid because, like, the Billy Gunn, Val Venus, Ken Shamrock thing, I remember being like quite a decent feud and like was kind of over, and they really screwed that up.
100%. And Road Dogg, frankly, couldn't hang with it. The next match was Kane with China defeated Triple H by DQ. Whatever, I don't really remember that. The next
I think China turns
hold on.
on. I think China shoots him in the face with like a bazooka or something.
Oh, I just want to note that's of course the second longest match on the show besides the main event.
Oh,
Because I gotta go long.
How long?
Yeah.
How long of a match is it?
Match. You
It's-
make my match long.
it's
Okay.
11 minutes 33 seconds.
Okay,
That's the second
For a
longest match.
for a DQ finish. It's like
Yeah.
I would have
The
done.
second longest match on the card is 11 and a half minutes
I would
for a
have.
DQ finish.
I would have had. I would have had Shane and X-Pac go longer because that match was actually kind of okay.
Then, next match was Sable defeats Tori by pinfall in 5 minutes. Whatever. Then Shane with Test defeats X-Pac by pinfall for the European title.
Was he the champion or did he win the Euro title?
He went
No,
in
he-
the champion.
Okay.
he was the champ.
Yeah. Then, The Undertaker with Paul Bearer defeats Bossman in like the second most derided Hell in a Cell match ever.
And Bossman, I think, gets hung at the end, and then
Yeah.
so then he goes face for like 2 weeks, and then he's the one that pulls like the briefcase up or something, and immediately
He was
turns
supposed to
heel.
be.
Yeah.
So, by the way, just interesting little nugget of trivia. Hung is what happens when you put a picture on the wall. If it is a person that you're doing it to, it's actually hanged. So I don't know why that's the difference, but that is the dictionary difference to it. So,
That's interesting.
and then main event, no DQ match for the WWF title. The corporation banned from ringside. Mankind, the special guest referee who doesn't show up until the very end, making the stipulation damn near pointless. Austin defeats The Rock by pinfall.
I think that match is pretty good.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it again.
17 is better because I don't think Rock wasn't
17 is better.
because Rock isn't like this is good, but like Rock was a much more capable worker by 17. Like this is much more like an Austin Carey job, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Rock. I don't say he's green because I mean he's been around like a couple of years, but he was still kind of like green to like
And
the
new to main event
style.
style, yeah.
So this was Rock who had won the title off of Foley following that feud that had the a halftime heat match, and
He won this at the. Did he win this at the Rumble, or was the? No, I think.
with
Well, because okay, so I can't remember. So Foley, so he wins it at like that Deadly Games tournament. Then Foley wins it at the end of the year on Raw, and then the Rumble has The Rock win it, but I don't remember where halftime heat goes in there, because then Rock wins it back
halftime heat was
after Rumble.
Rock won it back. I think Rock won it back at the Rumble because that was the I Quit match.
But no, but Foley won it again though, because he won it at halftime heat. Because remember, the halftime heat was really entertaining, and then they screwed it all up by doing that face shot of like the forklift coming
With
down
the-
on Rock and
yeah.
kind of like
Which is incredibly stupid.
after like
which-
a well
which-
received.
Yeah, which absolutely, utterly killed people's suspension of disbelief. Yeah, he won it there. Foley won it there, so
So Rumble must have happened either after that or between that, and then Rock would have won it somewhere else.
yeah.
I'm
Now
thinking it
I'm
went
curious
Rumble
about how
halftime.
that worked.
That had to have been based on when the Super Bowl usually happens. That halftime heat had to happen after the Rumble, because
Yeah, probably.
Rumble would have been like mid-January, and the Super Bowl would have been late January, early February, depending on the year.
Let me see if it'll. Never mind. I'm not going through all that.
He must have won it at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre or something.
I know. I remember Foley's statement was that his job. He felt like his job was getting The Rock ready to face Austin at Mania. I don't remember the exact exchange though.
Yeah.
So, in any event, this 15 is a mess because nothing has enough time to build to anything. There's so much stupid ass swerve the fans bullshit in it. And there's stupid finishes where stipulations don't make a damn bit of sense. So,
It doesn't feel like a Mania card.
It's crap.
Yeah, it's bad. I feel like the main event had a little bit of like the flair, but otherwise, like, no.
Because I feel like 2 might be up there as a bad one. One's just, I kind of discount 1 because 1's just a house show that they put on TV, but 2's pretty bad. 9's bad, but if you watch the build to 9, the build to 9 is better than like the build to 15, and like
9 is nowhere near as bad as 15.
And even like
was 9 the Taker Sid?
No,
that's 13.
13.
Okay.
And 13's awesome.
Okay.
13 won't lose because
it has Austin.
They at least have like Brett. Yeah.
Austin Hart, and I think
Austin Hart, yes.
And then it has Vader, Mankind versus the Hart Foundation, and I think the Legion of Doom, Nation of Domination street fight is like underratedly entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
You said that was 11?
13.
No, 13.
13. Okay.
9 is the one where is Brett Yoko, and then Hogan wins it in the main event, but that also has Steiners and Head Shrinkers and Luger and Henning.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work as a show, but like the build's kind of okay if you watch like the TV going into it.
Wow. Oh, God. Listen to this, the 9 card. I'm sorry. Let me run it real. Headbangers defeat 3 other teams for the number 1 contenders. Rocky Maivia defeats the Sultan. That was on WrestleMania.
I think it was the new Blackjacks, the Furnace and LaFon.
And the Godwins.
Yeah.
And then Helmsley defeats Goldust. Owen Hart and the British Bulldog defeat Mankind and Vader, which was supposed to set up for something that never happened. And you had Hart, Austin, and Ahmed and Legion of Doom versus the Nation of Domination street fight. So you get to the last 3 matches on the card, and you're like, oh, we're picking up some steam now. Well, no, the semi-mains did, and then the main just
literally had Sid Shart himself.
Oh yeah, we on a show that we did like 2-3 years ago.
Oh no, it's like 4 years ago now.
Oh, we went down the Mania main events.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah.
And I think I rated that one, Undertaker's this one, I think I rated it like the worst main event of all the Manias. And I still kind of feel that way. It was bad.
Bottom 5 for all of us, I think.
And there's no reason, no justification that it was as long as it was. It's a 21 plus minute match.
Yeah.
There's no justification. Why would you go 21 minutes with Sid? And we had the whole thing when God rest his soul, the poor man passed away not that long ago. And we talked about how we kind of like, there was something about Sid. Like, look, I was never the hugest Sid fan. I enjoyed Sid. I liked Sid for who he was. But why would you go 21? No one out there is being like, I need a 21-minute match out of Psycho Sid Vicious. No one. You got to keep that man to like maybe 10 minutes.
It was way shorter, but I think the Williams Sid match worked. But I think we kind of showed in the ECW run that's how you use Sid effectively.
Also, Taker and Sid had just terrible chemistry with each other.
No chemistry.
Well, Taker wasn't particularly good in this era either.
It's the hell of it is. What do you do with the 2 of these guys? Taker versus Sid. They're both the gimmick is that they're big and they don't stop coming. And then when you put them against each other,
who does what?
Yeah, what do you do? And it was not a good matchup for them.
And it's not
I'm not hating like those guys, but you can have 2 guys. What was it? AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, I think, just it just didn't work for the two of them.
No, they
And
don't have
they're
good
both
chemistry.
good. They're both good, but they just don't work together.
You
and
need-
yeah,
You need
it happens.
to do that match properly. They actually got it right at 14 with Undertaker Kane, but Kane is a better worker. But Kane is also Kane's gimmick is fine the way it is because he's always lesser than Undertaker, so he can be a monster, but he's always a lesser monster. And Sid,
Yeah.
like as a character, doesn't have that luxury to have the built-in
Yeah.
lore that he can fall back on, but he can always be lesser than. And Kane, like Kane's gimmick is different because Kane can like be a little vulnerable, and the way they did that, I think Taker just like tombstoned him like repeatedly until he pinned him.
Yeah. I think it took like 3 tombstones
Yeah.
in order to put him away on that one, and that was already like, wow, this is crazy.
But Kane's also a much better in-ring guy than Sid.
Yes.
And like I said though, he also has that security blanket though that Kane always had a purpose, but Kane could always be lesser than Undertaker, and it worked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a potentially contentious statement. Kane's a better worker than Undertaker. I'll stand by that. People get confused because Undertaker had some good matches at Mania with really good opponents. Like it's easy to have good matches with Shawn Michaels. I'm not saying Taker was a terrible worker, but I think Kane was better. Yeah, that's
I don't know when
that's
Taker
a contentious
was
statement in many ways.
when
That's
Taker-
contentious because people love Taker, but
I
they
thi-
may think he was better,
so
and also because of Kane's politics at the moment. Like,
so I
he's-
think that's a complicated topic because I think so. There's a couple things you have to take into this. Taker had a lot of health problems early on. He wasn't put in a position to have like good matches for I'd say like the first almost decade of his career. I think Kane was probably like a more consistent worker due to being less injured, but I think Taker had a much higher ceiling as a worker than Kane did.
I think for me, the big separation point for the two of them is that Kane is more versatile as a worker. Whereas Taker had this style that he settled into. Kane like mixed it up and did some different stuff too. So
But I also think
and
Taker didn't
Kane
have
was-
to. Taker was
Yeah,
at a
well,
point
he-
in his career once he got through the freak era where like he like literally I'm gonna be honest, like you can't use like 91 to like 97 against Taker just because like no one's gonna have good matches with like the stuff they were doing with him. But like I don't
Yeah.
think Taker did not have to like deviate because like he just didn't have to. So like it's kind of like when Hogan, like people like after a while like Hogan wrestled the same match, like well he didn't have to like work harder.
Yeah.
And I think
He didn't have to. Could he have? Sure. But he didn't have to. And I don't know, I would have gotten to a point where I was like, oh, God, I am bored to tears for doing the same thing all the time. I gotta mix it up, but
I think like Taker I think had a higher ceiling, but Kane's like was more consistent in the middle. But Taker like a high end Taker match is the high end Taker stuff is better than anything Kane did, but if you like took the totality of their matches, Kane probably grinded out like in that 2 to 3 star area a lot better than Taker did. But Taker hit into those higher ranges a lot easier.
Taker
lot
had
better.
higher heights. Kane had broader broader ability.
Kane's like that guy. Kane's kind of like well, I can't use Scottie Pippen because Scottie Pippen is like a elite level defender, but Kane's kind of like your Dennis Rodman that has a skill set and he's grinding you out like a certain niche on the roster, and like Taker would be like a more streaky guy that maybe has it some nights and doesn't other nights. But he might drop like 35 one night and then, you know, he might be more of like an Allen Iverson type that could have really high highs but then really low lows.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
So we're in agreement that 15's the worst.
15.
Because the thing with modern manias is like, I don't think most of the modern manias have been particularly good or special, but there's usually like some good matches on there to justify it. Like, it's not like the old days where you could just get like an abysmal show like 2 or 15 where there's just nothing of like redeeming quality on it.
Yeah, right now Mania has the benefit of having some people that are on that roster that go, I'm gonna steal this show tonight, and they go out there and I mean, they bust their holes to really do it. And you know what? Props to them. They go out and they are making a point. Happy for them.
Yeah. Sorry. I would say that the quality, just the level of worker they have, and some of their workers are kind of getting older. So people like Sami Zayn, who's a really great worker, it's like he's getting older. Injuries piled up.
AJ looks like he ate another human being and isn't as good anymore.
But generally, the quality of the worker is such that you can have a match that has like awful build. You don't care about it necessarily, but they'll go and they'll have like a good match. So like it's going to be a better quality match, even if it's like you're not really feeling like storyline or whatever with it. But,
and they have a higher. It has a high. As much as some people like argue against it, WWE still has like a higher working standard than they did like 20 years ago, because like I think someone like Jey Uso probably would still suck 20 years ago, but I don't think he would get like as much heat for it.
Yeah, he wouldn't get dragged as much right now.
They wouldn't push him like that high up either. He might get like an IC title run like at some point.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm actually slightly fascinated by he's getting any heat at all, because their fans care more about the aura than they actually do about like his work rate. But I think
once they're done eating, like he hasn't, like they don't react to his matches. His promos don't really get anything
because they're bad. They're really bad. So that even if they like him, they want him to succeed. It's like, okay, but then he's got to have like a 20-minute match. Like he can't do that.
He's not a good.
He blows himself up with his entrance.
He's not like. Yeah. It's like I don't even think highly of Jimmy Uso. I think Jimmy Uso honestly is a better in-ring worker than him, because like I've watched some of like because they've been doing some single stuff with Jimmy Uso the last couple weeks, and I've seen some. I'm like, like he's not good, but he's better than Jay. Like Jimmy, I think, is at least like technically almost competent, and like Jay can't even do like, I don't know. Jay's fascinating in the fact that like there's little stuff that I think like a second-year wrestler probably does better than him, just on a technical competency level.
I almost feel like he's regressed, and not that I ever thought he was great, but when it was him tag team with his brother Jimmy, I thought he had better matches, and
he's a better tag.
Obviously, it's a tag team. It's a tag team. It's a different dynamic than a singles wrestler, and there are things that if you have deficiencies, you can mask them.
And he's getting older. Like he's losing. I think part of the problem is he's losing. He's lost a step, and he is not a good enough worker to adjust for that. So things like where he botched the suicide dive, I think that's just because he's got some old man legs going on.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy. Like if you're a mediocre worker in like a tag team, especially with like your brother, I think it's pretty easy to not suck. Because I think that's kind of like, it's kind of like stand-up comedy. He was the second guy of the night that has 10 minutes of content, and they're suddenly asking him to be the headliner going 60. And he doesn't have enough material to adjust to that.
Look, the person that he probably ought to have the best chemistry with in his own brother, they had an utter stinker together. And okay, does that mean is that definitive? No, it's not definitive. What's one of the things, the big hindrances to it is the fact that, I mean, they basically have the same moveset, and then they have a match with each other, and it's not good. But if you've worked with somebody that long, I would think that you could find a way to do something. It's a very bad look at the very least, and I personally don't think it's a good indicator. If I went out and had a stinky match with somebody that I had been working with for months, I'd be like, I myself would have been embarrassed in myself.
So you're saying, like, if you had a stinker with Alex Angel, you would be like, what the fuck did I do out there?
I would go, what happened? Because Alex and I consistently had good matches with each other. The only time that we didn't have a really good one is the crowd vibe was entirely off. And we go out there to have this match, and we're doing stuff, and it's the idea of the give and take and the upstaging each other. And the crowd, like, I'm the face, he's the heel, but they're also cheering him. And so, like, neither one of us are like, this isn't working the way we wanted it to, or the way we were hoping it would, so we're trying to adjust for it, and it basically just took us out of it entirely. And it's like, what the hell was this? And so we were just like, all right, we're going to give each other a break for a while until we can come back to this, and the dynamic settles a little bit.
I was thinking on the Jay sucks wagon is, if you really dig into it, like, the match with Roman at SummerSlam is like kind of when people realized the Roman formula, and it really kind of started getting a lot more mainstream blowback on social media, that people realized what it was, because he was not he did not have enough star power or talent to make that work.
Yeah, it didn't hang.
And how do you have bad matches with Walter?
Look, man, I don't know how you do that. It's not good. It's pretty clearly not good, but I mean, we saw a good match where Walter just beat the crap out of somebody for 20 minutes, right?
I mean, he kind of was like a big reason PCO got, like...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, is he just beat up PCO for 20 minutes.
Well, PCO was doing, like, absolutely crazy stuff, too. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't get it either. And so we're going to get to WrestleMania in a minute, but I wanted to talk about, Matt and I touched on it a bit last week, because Shad wasn't here to keep us in our lane. So it's not been talked about a ton. Meltzer's finally kind of starting to talk about it, but, you know, the whole grift sphere won't... Well, actually, it's funny. They stopped talking about a lot of things because it's not true. But so since, I guess, the start of the year, AEW has kind of been slowly creeping up in, like, kind of every metric. Like, ticket sales have been getting better. The ratings were a little up and down, but I think, like, the last month or so, they've just been kind of steadily climbing. I think we just found out from someone credible that the numbers, they're getting about, what was it? They're getting like 80%, like they're getting a certain number on TNT, which has not gone down for Dynamite with the streaming.
No.
And then streaming gets 80% of what TNT gets.
Cable.
Yes.
Cable. Yeah.
So they're getting about 1 million people to watch a week between the two services, which is way better than I thought. I thought they were getting a minimal amount.
Yeah.
So the individual who I know has really been pushing this, and there could have been others, I don't know if he broke it, but who is definitely putting it out there, I think he's putting his name to the 80% number, is BJ Bethel, who is an investigative journalist. The name sounds familiar. It's because he is the journalist who has been reporting a lot on the Vince McMahon WWE sex trafficking lawsuit that is still ongoing. It's had a lot of long pieces about that, and
Yeah.
he posted information about that. So, and the guy just had like a legitimate background as like an investigative journalist, and so he claims that he has two different sources that this is where he's getting this information from, and he's not disclosing the sources. So people, of course, who are grifting, who are disingenuous, they want to be oh, you're not naming your sources, like it's not
Nobody
true. And
names
it's
their
like,
sources. You don't burn
exactly.
your
Like,
source.
exactly. Like everyone doesn't do that. Like they don't do that. It's common practice. So
And he's
acting
probably
like
getting it. He's probably getting
that's
it
grasping
from.
at straws.
He's probably getting it from someone directly in Warner Brother Discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like while I guess I don't know if it's necessarily corroboration, but Meltzer has been kind of on Twitter at least, like talking about it, and he's admitted, like he doesn't know if that's true or not, but exactly true, like the 80% figure. But
Yeah,
he,
I don't think and we need to state this because I've said it with WWE. What's going to matter with streaming, even if it's true, the thing that I think matters more, especially with Raw and it, isn't the view numbers. Like, because if you just tuned in to watch like 5 minutes, that counts as a view. It's going to be,
yeah,
and we would never get it. It's the watch time that matters more than the view amount.
Yeah.
The watch hours is what really
Right.
matters, because you can game the
Yeah.
view numbers.
Yeah, but to go back to Meltzer, I don't know if he's like corroborated like the 80% number, but he basically kind of has at least softly said like, yeah, that's what I'm hearing is like, yeah, they are getting a significant amount of viewers on HBO Max or Max. I guess it's not HBO Max anymore, but
Yeah.
and Meltzer, to his credit, has argued, and he takes like this is common sense, and it's true. Like take the tribalism and the grifting aspect out of it. It's like a certain number of people have to be watching it, because otherwise why offer it? Like Max is a business. Businesses aren't in the business of offering something that's gonna that essentially kind of would cost them money, because they're paying for like this, so they wouldn't offer something if they're not going to get something in return for it, and the return obviously is either subscriptions, people watching it.
Yeah.
I don't watch it on Max. I DVR AEW, so
I watched it on Max.
I watched
if you watch it on Max, do they have ads?
Yes.
I mean, I have a Max.
I
Okay.
haven't watched it. So what I like, why I like it on Max is, and you can't avoid the ads. That's the one thing I don't like, but I can, if I'm a half hour late, I can tell it to start from the beginning, and if something comes on I don't want to watch, I can just skip ahead, and I have that half hour buffer to go to something I want to watch.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, they have it's a show that airs on cable, so I would imagine like the ad breaks, but
the ads
I mean,
can be obnoxious though, because especially if you're behind, they hit you at really goofy points sometimes.
Okay.
But if you watch it live from the beginning, it happens during the commercial breaks, but it doesn't take up the entire commercial break.
Yeah, I haven't watched.
Okay.
I haven't watched an archive show, so I don't know if I watched it a couple days later, if I would have ads.
I'm sorry, Matt. You keep getting ready to start. We keep cutting you off.
Well, we're sharing the experience
Meltzer's
with
point.
him, though.
I mean, Meltzer's point is true. It's like they're not going to offer this if people aren't watching. So common sense is like some amount of people, without putting a name on it, because he was adamant that it's like, well, streaming companies just don't release because they don't want people to know. Like,
No.
And that makes sense for many different reasons. You know, I'm sure he hasn't mentioned this, but I'm just thinking logically. Like, I'm sure this goes to also, you don't want people knowing, like, just from a business aspect, in terms of like, let's say you have a show that's very popular, like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
You know, and this is like its final season, so maybe this is not the perfect example, but let's say, you know, in an earlier season of Stranger Things, maybe they don't have like the kids of the stars of Stranger Things signed for like, you know, multiple seasons. Their contracts are ending, but they know, oh, this show is streaming like 100 million times, like over the course, and like I think in my next contract I deserve more money. Like they wouldn't they don't want that information out just because something like that.
That was part of the strike.
Yeah, the writer's strike.
You do know what the top 10 is, because Nielsen does get stuff, and like we know some things, like we know how much audience, like I think like the Star Wars shows have been losing, and how like sequentially each show gets watched less and less and less and less and less and less. So we have some numbers like that.
Yeah, that is a thing that people lose. It's like, oh, we don't know how much people are watching AEW on Max. It's like maybe they don't disclose that, but it's also like because that's a great point. I forgot about that. It's like the Acolyte, the most recent like Star Wars show. It's like canceled the first season. It's like, well, why would it be canceled? It's like because they know who was actually watching. Like there are some metrics that are out there that they know. Disney Plus knows internally who's watching this, or how much watch time, as you said, Brad, is applying to this. They could be like, this wasn't really that popular, so I don't know if it justifies continuing to funnel the money into it for season 2.
The thing with AEW though is even if you only had like 50,000 people watching it live, and maybe you picked up another 100,000 on the replay, is you're already paying for it with the TV. So with it on streaming, that's just another thing you can slap on your sports page, and you have this whole back catalog. So if you get some weirdo like me that's like, I'm gonna watch AEW from the start, like you just got someone to log in for like, you probably just got 800 hours of watch time out of someone over the course of a couple months. Or if it's like a freak wrestling fan and not someone with a life, you might get that 800 hours in like 2 months.
Yeah.
And you didn't pay anything for it because you're already paying for the TV. So that's like, because that's kind of like where I think why like Netflix probably doesn't care that WWE is probably not getting a ton of views is, like I said, you have that nice, shiny, raw thing where you're probably going to be, well, I think they're putting a lot of that on YouTube, but like when that builds that back catalog, you get some weirdo that watches all that. That's some free watch hours you can put in your metrics. Because it's just content that sits there with a lot of view time available.
Right. But AEW, like, Meltzer's kind of at least giving a thumbs up to this. Like, common sense is that there are at least a good number of people, whether it's 80% or not, it's a good number of people who are watching. It makes sense it is. The biggest, to me, the big thing, look, this is a great talking point.
Audience.
Well, it's a great talking point to say, like, if you have 500,000 watching AEW, plus like the 600 or so that are watching cable, that's now like they're over like 1 million, which is a great talking point to the people who hated the WWE fans and people who hate on AEW. But to me, the bigger story is that, especially like the last few weeks, they've been slowly growing their.
They've been doing better. They've been doing better since the start of the year because. It was actually a lot of people were shocked. Voices of Wrestling, the flagship, talked about that almost the start, that like they went on Max and their numbers from December actually got better almost immediately, and they've been kind of slowly creeping in that direction. And
they've been slowly going up on cable, like, and it's not like this week they're 600,000, next week it's 800,000, stuff like that. But it's like maybe this week it's like 640,000 watched, but then next week it's like 650,000 watched, and it's like, but that's actually really, really good.
It's interesting too because their demo hasn't their demo number hasn't really been changing on cable. Like they've been rock solid. I kind of wonder if maybe they're picking up some of those like Raw refugees that did not get Netflix. Like some of those older like, I want to get my wrestling fix at some point, and I like. I can't afford. I don't want to deal with streaming, so maybe they're picking up some refugees there.
Yeah, maybe so.
But they're not. The other thing is that on cable they're not losing.
No.
Which was something that's like, oh, they're gonna go to Max, they're gonna lose viewers, and it's like that actually hasn't been the case. It seems like they're growing. And I have no way of knowing what the actual metrics on Max are. I'm not in the industry or know people in the industry, but I have anecdotally seen people on social media say like, "Oh, I've like switched to watching it on Max," for different reasons. But not the least of which is I had heard like, "Well, the video quality is better on Max." So that alone, people have been like, "I'm going to switch to that. I'm going to switch to Max because it's better video quality."
Yeah, that could depend on your service because there are some like if you have It's not Warner anymore because I think are they Spectrum now?
Oh, Time Warner is
Yeah.
Spectrum, yeah.
But like some of those, like I think like some of those like have terrible video quality if you have cable, like absolutely abysmal. Like I think Spectrum did for a long time. Whatever that one that everyone hates in like the East Coast, that Cablevision or whatever, or
Mhm.
has bad quality. Like satellite has pretty good quality if you get that. So I think that I like there are services I've seen like at friends' houses where I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd watch that on streaming because this is garbage. And I mean, if you
I
like, and if you're like me, like half the time, like if I had YouTube TV or Sling or something, it was just because I wanted to watch AEW. So I'm going to take the
yeah.
cheaper option.
I mean, I was what I did not have a good way to watch Dynamite, and then whenever they put it on Max, I'm like, I'm set. So I went from being someone who is scrambling around trying to find a way to watch it to now like being a number that's counted. Um, it just makes it a heck of a lot easier. I can throw it on about any any stream or any screen in the house and kick back and enjoy the show, as opposed to which one's a cable hooked up to.
Yeah, or you can watch it on your phone or tablet or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting though that their numbers are going up on cable because like ratings going up is really not something that happens a lot.
No,
Because we
no, it
kind of
really doesn't.
talked about that with Raw the last couple years, that they weren't really gaining an audience, but the fact that they weren't like seeing attrition at all was like
Hmm.
um, was something in and of itself. And I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're just that's a backhanded compliment." Like, no, like retaining an audience week after week for a long period of time on TV, or like even in like comic book form, or like a lot of stuff like that. If you're maintaining a stable line, like that's actually good, because the
Yeah,
standard is to erode
yeah.
over time.
Everybody's eroding right now, and so if you're not eroding, then you're in a good spot.
Yeah, and going up is like not the norm.
Yeah. No, it's not right now.
But I think largely because I've started watching again the last month. I think it's interesting because the Death Rider stuff sucks, and I don't think it's working. But like, it seems to be working despite that. But I think in general, since I've come back, I'm just like, oh, the TV's a lot better. Just like on a moment to moment basis, like, oh, this is more logical. Like they kind of went back to basics. Like they're giving you reasons to be invested in stuff. They've turned the roster over nicely, so it feels less stale. Like I think like having guys like Beast Mortos, Mike Bailey, like people like that. Like it just I don't know. There's something about the roster that feels fresher recently.
Yeah, it's it got them out of some of the stuff that was they got out of some of the stuff that wasn't working. The MJF Jeff Jarrett thing wasn't working. So you know what they did? Dropped it. And it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. And it's like, all right. And then the
They kind of have
Christian Cage
Page
with
where he should be, like as a feature of the
Yeah.
company.
and Christian Cage's contract thing, people were getting grumpy about. So what'd they do? Got rid of it. They've been making some good moves on that stuff. And so I think that it's inching back up because they're making more and more good moves. And
Kenny's back, who's their biggest star and draw.
and Kenny helps a lot. And TK also isn't splitting his time between that and the Jaguars. So, I think there's a number of things that probably contribute.
And it feels like a much more focused show now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it helps, like, I know there's going to be a lot of talk about it, but I mean, honestly, like, them ditching a lot of that older WWE dead weight, like, has really freshened things up. Because I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel like WWE from 7 years ago anymore.
It helps.
Yeah.
They got, I mean, not that you saw him, but they got rid of Rusev. Malachi's gone.
Yeah.
Ricky Starks. And they're replacing people with actually like are interesting or have talent.
Mm-hmm.
And younger.
Not these don't have talent, but yeah, I mean,
and
they're fresher.
And younger, I think is important.
Yeah.
Mike Speedball Mike Bailey. They just signed Kevin Knight.
Like
Megan
said,
Dane in the women's scene.
Yeah.
Is like interesting.
Beast and Wear Toast.
Josh Alexander is still in the wings, like
Yeah.
ready to debut.
Oh, Hechicero's back. Did a show. They have the Atlantis kids on recently.
They should definitely feature CMLL talent a lot more.
Billy
as we
Starks
get closer to All In.
Billy Starks is getting features
yeah.
on the AEW roster now. It feels like they're younger now and stuff. Adam Cole got rid of the jaundice.
And I feel like that they're doing some other things that I really like.
MJF isn't doing that weird shit he was doing like 6 months ago. It feels like they've kind of got his character voice back down.
That feud with Hangman was just beneficial for everybody because it got Hangman back to prominence. It got MJF out of his rut. It was a good thing to do all the way around.
Yeah. Will Ospreay's really clicking, I think. Yeah, I just think they just, Tony Storm's really firing on all cylinders right now. I just think that they finally got it to where like they got a bunch of storylines to peak at the right time together for a pay-per-view. And I really think part of what's carrying them is that pay-per-view was super well received and really, I don't know, they picked up an energy off of that pay-per-view that I think is going to carry them for a little bit too. Because that was like the first time, like their pay-per-views are usually good, but like Revolution was like the first time in maybe 2 years I got super excited about the company.
And Tony Storm is so over right now and has such a good handle on her character that, I mean, it just takes off and goes. So it's really impressive and exciting to see how well that is. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
God, I'm so damn impressed with that because not only is she over, she has her gimmick figured out. It's like, hell yes, dude.
She has done some of the most interesting character work in the last like year or two of anyone. It really is. People.
It's
really
unexpected from her. It's unexpected from her too because she was. I always thought she was guilty of. She was kind of female Brian Cage of. She had to get her shit in. And she's kind of evolved as a worker and like doesn't have that tendency now.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is like people misuse the word, but generational. It's like she's given like in the last like year or two. It's like a career, performance essentially. Like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, people will look back at the timeless Tony Storm character and all the things that she did, especially the whole storyline with Mariah May, culminating in the Hollywood ending. And that's like iconic. Like that will be remembered. It'll go down. It's like this is a great angle. It was well executed, etc. So
and
excellent.
Another massive positive from the last week. One of the worst AEW contracts ever is over because they got rid of Saraya.
Yeah.
That was not money well spent.
I guess as a human being, I can appreciate she had a dream. She was injured. Now she was to come back and at least wrestle a little bit more. Had a big moment in London England where she's from.
Yeah,
at Wembley.
That was. I'm gonna be honest with you. That the whole first Wembley thing for her was like every wrestler's dream to be able to have that sort of thing, and it's just like, holy shit, dude. Yeah, it's just you get the shakes just thinking about that.
It was interesting how unover she was at the second Wembley show, though.
Quit paying the mortgage on her house.
Yeah. I don't know. It just didn't work. I don't know. She's kind of. One, she's not a great worker. I think she got a lot of hype early because she was like. She came about in that WWE era. She was like the first woman that could kind of work in a long time on their roster.
Yeah.
Because even like when like Charlotte and Bailey and Sasha and all them kind of came up, she kind of got exposed pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. It was not a. How can I best put that? She was at the top of the division when the division was not. Soraya was like Britt Baker at the top of the division at a time when the division was not strong.
Yeah. She was kind of like she kind of ushered in that era of like women that could work in WWE getting a prominent role, but like she was not like on the level of like their better workers.
No, unfortunately.
No. So then I suppose it's time for the main event. So we're going to be talking about this year's Mania, which it's really late this year. Has it ever been this late? I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Because it's Easter Sunday this time. Or one of them is.
Oh, my God.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God. It's on Easter?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Well, night 2.
Yeah, night 2.
But it's Easter weekend.
And this is like...
Oh, my God.
And I think... This is like as late as Easter gets, I think, too. Because Easter's like
pretty
super
close.
late.
And then, wait, hang on. Here's the other thing. Where is this one being held? Where's Mania at, location-wise?
Is it Vegas? Or is it... Where is it? Is it New Orleans?
I don't know.
Where? Mania?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vegas.
Okay.
It's in Vegas. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But that's still not going to be a good weekend to do that on. Like that's a pretty big miss. You know, that like
I think it's too late because I think part of the reason the build's been a little meh is they went... It's too far away from the Rumble.
yeah.
Like, I think Mania should be, like... At the latest, Mania should be, like, the first weekend of April. Like, so we should be looking at it this weekend. Because, I mean, I don't know, people will be like, whoa, you just don't like a long build. Like, no, it's too long to keep interest for, like, the winner of the Rumble challenging.
Yeah, that's... If you do that, you have to wait entirely too long. The build is going to be a drag on you, and people are going to get tired.
And I actually think
so.
If it was this weekend and they had done the Cena heel turn at the exact same time, I think they would have gotten a ton of interest because it would be so fresh.
Yeah.
Because they could have done the heel turn, they could have done the promo the next week, and then they could have done a heat thing, and then you're pretty much on the go home show.
Right.
And now they have to go another, I don't know, 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
And keep that fresh. And I think you don't want...
Yeah, that's...
I feel like, I don't know, I feel kind of like... It's a weird vibe I get when I go on social media because there's always, the diehard defenders, but I've really seen a lot of people that just aren't digging what they're laying out this year.
Yeah. Yeah. God, okay. I'm not that plugged in right now. But I don't know, it just doesn't feel like they're putting like a lot of their big matches are going to be triple threats right now.
Which I don't like. I don't like when companies do that. I don't like when AEW will throw a show on there and it's a bunch of triple threats. I don't like when they do it. it's because I mean I know it's not true anymore because they're a content mill, but like Mania should have a hint of finality to it, and that's one of the things we've always criticized 2000 for was there was like no singles matches on that show. It was
Yeah,
all like
it was. Yeah, it was Mania 2000. Thank you for reminding me. I couldn't remember which one it was. But it was just so. Oh God, it was just so. Okay, I understand the idea of we want to get a bunch of people on the show so they can get their Mania payoff. Okay, cool.
just give them the money.
But why don't you just give it? It's like here's a Mania bonus. Here you go.
But that's what the Andre was for.
Yeah. It's what the Andre was for, and yet they don't even do that now. And everybody wants to be on the show because you get different royalties if you're on the show proper as opposed to being on the lead-in show.
I have an easy solution. You do Andre Memorial Tournament night 1, you do Money in the Bank night 2.
Are they doing Money in the Bank at Mania now?
No, Money in the Bank's always its own show.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, do Money in the Bank at Mania because then you can put 6 people in. You can do the women's version too if you want. And that's an easy way to get a bunch of people in. It's something special for Mania. I know it kills one of your pay-per-views, but the gimmick-based pay-per-views are trash anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, come on, like let's I don't like gimmick-based pay-per-views because there's nothing organic in the build then.
Well, no, it's like it ruins your gimmicks. And I mean, like Fall Brawl killed War Games, but like it's like, oh, you have to have a Hell in the Cell every September of every year. How original. Or
yeah. Oh, I wonder what's gonna happen.
Or it's interesting that everyone for like a decade had some feud that required a tables, ladders, and chairs right for that pay-per-view that was called Tables, Ladders, and Chairs.
And then one year they added and stairs, and it was blindingly obvious that they took the old audio and then just tacked on Michael Cole saying and stairs at the end because it was a completely different tone.
Ugh.
It's just like, oh God.
At least
if you're having him record that, just have him record the whole thing. That should not be a loss.
At least if you're gonna do like a gimmick pay-per-view, do something like I'd even be fine with like, oh, every match is gonna be 2 out of 3 falls. Or something more simplified than that. Or, we're going to do, they wouldn't have that, but like something like, we're doing like, sorry, my brain. The Josh Barnett Blood Sports. We're doing a gimmick show like that.
I think that if you're going to have a gimmick pay-per-view, then you have a gimmick pay-per-view that you build booking plans around. The Rumble's a perfect example. The Rumble has a set role. We're going to have the Rumble. Whoever wins the Rumble gets title shot at Mania. Okay, got it. Now, this is something that we do. Here it is. Let's go. And just don't get yourself so locked in. Because for God's sake, if you do that, then you can't adjust anything. It makes it predictable and not in a good way.
Or even like, I mean, this would be more fun and feel more organic, but just do like, bring the one night stand concept back and just be like, oh yeah, this show, there's no rules to any of the matches. Everything goes. Like, I think that's fine for like a one night gimmick.
Yeah.
Because that can figure into the feuds. It might not. But like, it's an element in there that you can work into your feud or not. But that's just the concept of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
I'm not saying it's amazing, but like I'm saying, like that's a little more organic than Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, because it's not based around one match. If it's just like, hey, just to steal, if War Games is not the War Games match, then it's War Games, and it's like, this one's a no DQ, this one's a falls count anywhere, this one's a last man standing, that sort of stuff. Like you could totally get away with that, but
Bring King of the Ring back as a gimmick pay-per-view.
dude, yeah, why get rid of that? I mean, you've got another like ready-made kind of Royal Rumble style thing. Why? And then they did it like poor Xavier Woods got his dream to win King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia where nobody gave a shit.
They bring that back like once a decade?
I don't know.
I wonder if it would have. I wonder if it would have come back and stayed had Regal not gotten popped for that wellness violation when they gave him the King of the Ring and the IC title.
Didn't well, I mean,
because remember they had that,
and then Booker won it after him.
Or remember they had that swank end of that Raw where he's like sitting on the throne looking like a Bond villain, and then, like literally the next day he got popped for a wellness violation.
Well, I've talked about that before. Like that was an amazing. He was sitting there with this guy, and he looked like king size. It was awesome. And the rumors that they were gonna push him to have like either like a main event run, or not that he was gonna necessarily win the title, but like have a good push. And it's like that would have been great. And then he got popped, and it was like that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's one of those. That's one of those like big what ifs. Like that was so cool. That was like one of the last times like I got like I was super invested and I got popped. They're like, no.
Yeah.
And then I learned with Nexus just not to. Well, no, that's not true. Nexus and Summer of Punk taught me to never get invested in anything they do because they'll screw it up.
Dolph Ziggler's Survivor Series thing.
I knew by then.
God, I'm still so pissed off about that.
I mean,
in any event,
their big thing with Punk was let's bring Kevin Nash back, and I think Kevin Nash even beat him in a match.
Yeah, pretty sure that happened.
It wasn't even Kevin Nash; it was Diesel.
I mean, at that point, no, I don't have a good joke. Never mind.
Now with this current one, do you think if do you think it would be going slightly better if the Charlotte thing wasn't happening? Because that just seems to be a black hole on the show because everyone knows she's gonna win, and no one wants to see her win because
I have seen the main thing that I have seen people mad about that feud for is the fact that Charlotte and Stratton had that they had that segment together, and it seemed pretty clear that Charlotte knew what the script said and was doing her own copy or something, and Stratton was sticking to it, and so Charlotte just ate her alive. And it's like, this is not going to make anybody any friends. Like, this seems like a bad plan in general.
No, and remember, to go along with what you're saying, I think also why people are upset with her is remember when she went down to NXT and beat Rhea Ripley for the title, and then when she lost it, it was Rhea Ripley, I think Penny and Io in like a 3-way. So then she beat Rhea and never like returned the favor. I think people, because I see that come up a lot, and I think that sticks out in people's minds. I think they know she's going to win the title and never do the favor back.
Yeah, no one's paying it back, and that's really hard. That's really, really frustrating.
And I think the other problem is a lot of people, even like their Fed pillars, understand like intrinsically that I think Stratton is in a very vulnerable position where she shouldn't be jobbing like this.
And she also should not have her knees clipped like that.
Yeah.
Did you?
Because I will go to my grave. I still think Bianca Belair has never recovered fully from when Becky chumped her at SummerSlam.
Oh well, no, and she should have, but at this point, where there's smoke, how much smoke do you need to really see?
That was
the air around you.
That was in the Vince era.
Well,
no.
still, I mean, there's been plenty of times. There's been enough time that she could have been easily built up again.
Well, the problem is,
Exactly, Shad. Like, how much smoke do you need suffocating you before you realize that there's a fire going on?
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors about the current Booker and his
Yeah.
views on African American talent, and it's
Well,
like at some point, do you not realize like the black talent telling you, "Oh no, like we're not respected, they don't care about us, etc." Like
Yeah.
at some point, like at what point do you start listening to them and just even though you don't want to listen to them, observe with your own eyes, be like,
Mhm.
this is kind of bullshit. Like Bianca Belair
Yeah.
should have been the next big thing, and the
Mhm.
last 2-3 years she hasn't been, and I feel like there's a reason for that.
Well,
But
the
no,
problem-
she has not recovered when she should be. And there are people who point to be like, well, she's having this, she's having a title match against Io Sky. It's like,
who cares?
no one cares about it. No one cares.
Yeah.
And she's somehow viewed as like the kind of like the heel in this. Like she just, I guess on Raw last night, like she was booed. The crowd booed her, and it's like Bianca Belair should be like the face, like the quintessential face of this. Like she should. Not that
Well-
she has like Ricky Steamboat energy, but kind of it's like you can absolutely build her as like your star,
The problem,
and you should have.
the problem with what happened with her though is, and what people don't understand when you argue this with them is, so they cared about that moment of Becky coming back and winning the title, but the problem is long form, and I said it at the time, when you job someone like you jobbed her to Becky, like it doesn't matter how big of a star you are, like there are points when you job someone like that, they never get quite back there if you do it at the wrong time, and like the way they did that, like
you're a chump.
yeah. So like she might be 90% back to what she was, but like you'll never recover from that. Like Luger never recovered from like the Flair stuff in '88. Like he had points where he got really over and stuff, but like he never would have, he never hit the heights he hit again. Like he got really close, but he never recovered from that. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of examples of like jobbing someone at the wrong time. Like Rob Van Dam never recovered from like when they kind of just buried him a bit in like 2002 and stuff. Like Kane never quite recovered from the Katie Vick thing. And people point to times that they're over, and it's like, well, yes, but they're not as over as they should have been.
Yeah, there's a good reason why you don't clip someone when they're hot.
Like Randy
Because-
Orton has never recovered from like that pay-per-view where Triple H just randomly beat him for no reason.
Yeah,
As much as I don't like
It-
Randy
it-
Orton, he got chumped by Triple H like really terribly.
he did. He got clipped when he. I need to define terms. Clipped, taking their knees out from under him, chumped. Permanent. Their perception is permanently damaged that way. That's how I'm using it.
Yeah.
And what happens? You've got you've got all of these guys who, at some point in their career, were like there, and it happens time and time again. It's like you've got to get someone established before you can do that. If they had done at that SummerSlam, Becky comes back, like the end of the show is Becky comes back and challenges Bianca, perfect, not a problem. And they have an actual match later, great, no big deal. Having to have the match right then and there, that's what screws it up.
And it being 45 seconds.
Well, even if it is just being 45 seconds, doing it right then and there, it's not exciting. You can't build to it. And like you said, Bianca Belair should... maybe this is not the right name for it, but Bianca Belair should kind of not be the same role, but in a similar place, kind of being like the Sting for it, in that fiery babyface who does impressive physical stuff and scraps back against the heels all the time, even when outnumbered. Cool. Didn't happen. And they brought Becky back. They wanted her to be a heel when she came back, and then they killed Bianca, so that whole thing was screwed up.
And then Becky
There was...
Becky didn't really take off after that either. Like
Yeah.
she wasn't what she was either. So they kind
Because
of did
how
it for
you
nothing.
you can't have you're gonna have a hot return for someone like that and then make him a heel. Like
But
that's never the best idea.
and it instantly, the problem when you do that with Becky too is it instantly wore the audience out, and they're like, why is it always Charlotte, Becky, and Asuka? And like instantly the fatigue sets in, even though she'd been gone for a year.
Yeah.
It's why Charlotte has barely wrestled, and having her win the Rumble, out of nowhere, it instantly fatigues your audience.
Yeah.
Did you?
I'm yawning thinking about it.
Did you see the promo battle from like a couple weeks ago? That was Charlotte versus Tiffany. They had a promo.
I think that's one
They had,
Shad
like,
was talking about, where Charlotte went off script and kind of
Ate her up.
It was almost uncomfortable to watch because, and this is kind of just an example of how they just. I think Tiffany Stratton has talent, but they've not. There's a generation of talent that they have not taught well.
No, and she's kind of like Bianca in the sense that she was too talented to screw up. So she's kind of overcome their bad training to a degree, but she hasn't worked with enough good workers. Like the thing with Braun Breaker is Braun Breaker's fine now because he's been working with good people in the mid card, and those people beat all the bad habits out of him, and he seems like he's fine now because he's been working with Sami Zayn and stuff. But like for somebody like Tiffany, they don't have a lot of women like that on the roster to help her.
That's true, but I guess my point is like where you're not training these people like you should is that Charlotte went off script, and this is like the non-physical wrestling equivalent of sandbagging. Like she went off script, and because Tiffany Stratton was never really trained and doesn't know how to like improvise and just do lines, she was kind of just like like caught off guard, and then just go with like her scripted lines, and it just came off disjointed and made her look like a chump.
Well, the problem though also, even if you wanted to go off script, if you're Tiffany Stratton, I mean, if something goes wrong and Charlotte gets mad, even though Charlotte started it, you're going to be the one that gets in trouble. So like you almost have to just sit there and take it because you're going to lose either way, and you'll probably lose worse if you fight back.
If you fight back and it doesn't go well, it looks bad on you. If you do what you're supposed to, and Charlotte does that to you, that's going to make a bad impression on her. Because it looks like you're beating up on the newer person. You're tearing up the newer person just to make yourself look good, and it's blindingly obvious that you are. Like there's not. Yeah.
But you're not gonna get any support backstage if you fight back though. From the office especially, because it's like how Nia Jax is allowed to injure people repeatedly and nothing ever happens. And online will claim she's better even though she's still absolute dog shit.
I haven't watched her, so I don't really have an opinion on it.
People online are like, oh, she's so much better than I watch her, and like it's the same shit. Or she's just doing something blatantly terrible. I'm just like, she's awful. But so I think she's a stain on it. I don't know, the Roman Punk Rollins thing. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like people are that interested in it.
I don't think anyone cares. This to me is like here, bro, you've bitched enough about it. You get a main event of Mania for CM Punk, and it's like you're not the main event. Like, I'm sorry. Like I will die on this hill, and I almost hate to say it because you have people that I like Mercedes Moné and Bianca Belair, who main evented one of the night one of Mania in the last few years. But it's like night one of Mania is not the main event. the main event of Mania is the last match of Mania on whatever. If they could have like, you know, they could have 20 nights of Mania. The last match is the main event of Mania. So
And no one,
and that's not going to
like,
be Roman Reigns
and
in CM Punk, Seth Rollins. It's
yeah,
not.
and if you go back to last year, no one talks about the Rock and Roman versus like Cody and Rollins from night one. They just talk about the title match. I bet you if you went back and asked people the main event of night one, I bet you they'll remember night two because that's the last match, but I don't think a lot of people remember night one. And I agree with you. And especially this year, like Cody and Cena is far and away obviously more important. But I also think like with the Roman match, like for me, I just look at it, I'm like, well, obviously Roman's probably gonna win, but whoever wins is gonna pin Rollins.
Yeah.
Because Rollins just there to be like the water boy.
Pretty much. He's there to eat dirt so the other two don't get damaged out of it.
Yeah. So that kind of takes some of it, like that kind of takes some of the interest away. I don't think
Because you know they're not going to pin Roman in this.
no. And I don't think like Roman's been particularly interesting the last couple months. I don't know. But like, and I mean, like, for me, it's just like, well, the Cena heel turn's kind of interesting. I was actually kind of really intrigued when I saw it. And then, like, the promo happened, and I was just like, oh, I got less interested. And then he cut the same promo again, and I'm like, oh, I'm really less interested now.
You know,
That and the gap between the turn and the first promo, you're kind of going, I thought this was important.
that in my well, there's many things to say about this, but I think that absolutely hurt them. Because you have this hot angle, and then it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? It's like, find out 3 weeks from now, and it's like, what?
That's so unlike
no.
them too. That feels like I mean that
What
felt
dude,
like an
what
that felt like an AEW style fumble.
What did we talk about that the things that Tony Khan was doing wrong? Certainly, like in 2023, maybe in 2024 too. It's like,
Oh,
you
the
have, like,
whole
a hot
Bucks
angle.
angle was this.
Yeah, you have a hot angle or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's really like, oh, great angle to close like Dynamite or Collision. And it's like, oh, I want to see what's more, and it's like 2-3 weeks later.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you got to follow it up like immediately. You can get by if you have a hot angle for Dynamite. You can get by maybe like not showing on a Collision.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
same thing, Collision. Like, you don't need to show it on Dynamite, but it's like you should do it within 1 week's time. So
Yeah.
this is like a good angle or something. Follow it up like 1 week later.
It's so weird
And-
because I like when we had talked about that with AEW, I always praised WWE for not making this mistake, and then they make it. Like they really made me look like an idiot for like saying something
And
nice
look,
about them.
Look, I get Cena is like a Hollywood star now. It's like maybe his schedule didn't work, but it's like you dude,
Taped promo.
have him tape a promo. Like, and it doesn't even have to be like a long ass promo.
Yep.
5 minutes. Have him do like a 5-minute promo, like backstage, like after the show. It's like, oh, we have word from that John Cena after that shocking like turn. Gives a whole promo, and it's like, you can give like not even 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It's like, I'm with The Rock, like screw Cody Rhodes, whatever. And then maybe like a week or two later, you can have him.
Or
give a
like
longer
even, hey
explanation, I
losers,
guess.
I'm gonna be there next week to tell you why I did this.
something.
Like
This isn't even like complicated. This is like just booking 1-on-1. Like you don't do a hot angle and then it's like, we'll follow it up like a month from now.
Yeah.
You're not running monthly shows.
no.
Like you could do that if it's like back in the day. It's like you run an indie promotion, so you have a really big hot ending to the show, but your next show is not going to. You run like basically once a month. So your next show is not going to be like for another like 3-4 weeks. So it's like, okay, I gotta show up to the next show. This is a weekly episodic TV show.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just like Raw. Like you have Raw, SmackDown, NXT even. Same thing for AEW. It's like you have Dynamite, Collision. Like you got to follow this up. That was
Yeah.
something that was killing AEW. That they would do a big angle, and it's like, well, it's two weeks or more before
Yeah,
the
you
Bucks are going to
forgot
show
what
up
happened.
again. It's like,
Because it was just, that just seems like that was such a like not them kind of thing, because they're really good. Like, and that's what I'd said when we were talking about AEW is like WWE's real good about following up on stuff and like beating you over the head with their hot angles, and they just like
Yeah.
did not follow up.
And we're going, well, it was really confusing because I did not understand why. You've got an angle you've been sitting on for how long, and now you're gonna slow play it.
And they actually got a little like, for the first time in this like hot stretch, I air quoted under my table, but they kind of got some pop culture penetration with it too, because it was interesting, it was different, and then they kind of just waited too long. And then, I mean, people disagree with me, but I think him doing a half-hour promo is not the way to do that stuff.
no.
No.
Well, especially like the audience that they have now. Like your audience doesn't have the attention span for like let me do a 30-minute promo.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest. I don't have the fucking attention span for a 30-minute promo. Like, I'm gonna sound like, I don't know, a boomer or some ADHD riddled squirrel. But if you can't tell me your motivation in 5 minutes, like, get the fuck off the screen, because you're doing it wrong.
We've been watching obviously USWA. How many of those promos last like more than 5 minutes?
How much
Like,
does
I don't think any of them.
I bet you if I looked up the Hard Times promo from Dusty Rhodes, that's one of, like, is an iconic promo. I bet you it's 3.5 minutes. It's 4 minutes.
Pretty sure it's about 4. I'll double check.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that's about where it fell.
Like, all those Piper's Pits that get talked about were 3 to 5 minutes. Like, I bet you, I used to think the Hogan promos on Nitro were long-winded. I bet they were 10 minutes.
You were right. 3.5 minutes.
Yep. I
Hard
just pulled
times,
it up.
Daddy.
Shad, 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, all the stuff you remember, like all the iconic stuff, is short, because like when you do something that long, it's never gonna stick, because like the reason Hard Times works, you like, oh, this is a great promo, and you can show it to someone and they'll watch it because it's 3.5 minutes. Like, you say, oh, this is great, and it's a half hour, like, they're not gonna watch it. Like, when I start out someone with wrestling and I'm getting them into it, I don't pick any matches that are longer than 25 minutes. Like, and even 25 minutes is pushing them. Like, I start them with stuff like Ray and Eddie, I start them with, which is, I think, 18 minutes. I do like Magnum Tully, which is like 10 minutes. Austin and Brett, that's that may be 20 minutes. I don't think it's super long. I would do, Shad used dog collar match with FTR and the Briscoes, and that's probably 28 minutes. That might be the longest of those.
I also used Bucks versus Lucha Brothers in the Cage. That one's about 25. But that's a full match. That's a full tag team match with lots of stuff going on consistently. As opposed to, like, I have never been on board for half-hour promos.
Yeah.
Ever. You know, I got PTHHHSD. Like, I don't ever want to see something that's like that again. Don't do that. You know, it's like, well, oh, Triple H is coming out to talk. Well, we can go to dinner, and by the time we get back, there might be an actual match on.
It's just, but like in general though, like I'm not, like if I was getting someone to wrestle, I'm not gonna be like, you know what you're gonna watch? You're gonna watch this Misawa Kawada match that's 55 minutes long, because they will literally die before they get to the end of it.
You might, dude, I might not want to watch it that long. I have to, like, get myself ready, like, psych myself up for things that are going to be that long. Like, I've got it. That's a commitment of time, dude. It's like, oh, I'm going to have an entire hour to watch this match.
like maybe if I was feeling daring, I might have someone watch the Flair Wyndham worldwide match that's like 45 minutes, but like that doesn't feel like 45 minutes. And even then, I wouldn't do it. That's
still a big ask.
Yeah. That is a big ask. Like I said, usually when I'm starting to get someone into it, I pick stuff that's intentionally under like 20 minutes. Is very fast paced and not too like complicated. Because the thing is, like, if you're not like bought in, like, I mean, and I'm much more likely to go revisit something that's like 10 or 15 minutes than something that's like, oh, well, I gotta like sit down, I gotta get a drink, I gotta carve out some time for this. Like, so you're not gonna go back and like rewatch a 30-minute promo.
See, the one thing that frustrates me with a lot of contemporary long matches is where, I don't know, first half of it doesn't really doesn't really play into the story. It's just doing stuff, and then it's like, okay, now we're getting the actual story out of you. And at that point, I'm kind of like, oh god, I check out.
I hate that when it's just like they're starting a match, and you're like 10 minutes in, like, you guys are just jerking off because you're going 38 minutes. Like,
yeah, it really bothers me. And
because like the Flair Wyndham match worldwide, like that's the thing, like they don't kill any, like none of that time's wasted.
No,
they stay on it.
But I just hate those matches where they're gonna go like 40 minutes, like, well, I'm gonna do a wrist lock, and we're just gonna do this, and we're gonna do that, and then it's like you don't even remember the first 10 minutes because it meant nothing.
Yeah, that's my. This plays into why I think that good selling is a cardinal rule and not good selling is a cardinal sin. If you're going to start the match off and you're working a body part, play that into it later. Don't let it be, because if you were doing a good job working the leg, why'd you quit? And if he spent all that time working the leg and you don't sell it, then why did he do it?
I don't 100% agree, because I can understand like let's say we're gonna have a long match, and I'm like, okay, well, let's say like you do the heart punch, go home, and so we're starting the match off, and like the first
I almost got Matt with that one,
and like let's say like the first 10 minutes as I'm going after the go home arm, and then maybe I move on to something else, but like you know, or like, remember when we watched Azumi Starlight Kid?
yeah,
And I don't remember what the move was, but like they were doing a bunch of stuff, and Starlight Kid kept going back to this one move, not because it was the most, like, it was the best move she could do, but because it was working.
But that story went through the whole match, and
yeah,
it was consistent. And let's say that you and I are going to have a 30-minute match, and the story behind it is that I've started using this really nasty lariat, and you're like, I don't want you to be able to do that, and you start working my arm because you don't want me to do that. Okay, cool. By my philosophy of wrestling, that means that if I go to do that lariat later and I do it, then I need to drop and like shout or scream or something and be holding that arm because, oh my God, everything you did to it. Even if I hit you with it, I need to acknowledge it's like, this cost me something. Or I hit you with it, I drop and I do it, and by the time that I've got myself enough together, because I'm laying there going, oh, you know, and by the time I get over to pin you, you kick out of it. Why? Because you've done all that work for it. But if you start out working the arm, and then later on you start working the leg, and I do the lariat, and maybe I'm selling the knee, then why did we spend all that time doing the arm? There's no point to it. And that drives me absolutely crazy.
Yeah, but what if the story of the match is I was smartly working the arm, and then I got distracted and was a dipshit because I started working your leg, and then you nailed me with the lariat and I lost?
Okay, so what happens there is, like, we're saying we're doing all this, and you're trying to work the arm, and it's not working for whatever reason. Like, I need a good example for that. Here, I'm going to pull this example out of the ether. You're working a match against Otis, and what you decide to do is you're trying to work the body because you want to take away his core strength so he can't lift, and it's not working. So you do all this sort of stuff, and then at some point in the middle of it, Otis flattens you or does a slam or something and, like, you know, hits his body, and he's like, yeah, and you're just like, oh, that didn't work. And you, like, back up and you look at him and you're like, okay, that didn't work. I need to start doing something. Like, play that into it. If it's going to be a no-sell because, like, my game plan doesn't work, that's a different thing.
Well, I'm saying,
But
like,
you don't waste all that time by just stopping and doing something else.
I'm saying, like, what my point is, like, you've seen it happen in sports or, like, in UFC. Like, you see a grappler just is convinced they're going to knock some guy out, and then they lose because they didn't go to takedowns. I'm saying, like, what if I start off with the arm and then I just decide for some reason, and I work stuff into it, like I'm trying to get you with like a figure four or something, and I just stubbornly focus on your leg, and then like several minutes later you hit the arm. I don't think you have to sell it at that point, because I think the point is kind of like, oh, he was kind of being an idiot.
I would still sell the arm because you did work on it, but it would not be as big. You know, here I come in big, boom, Larry, and I go, ow, and then I'm like holding it, but I roll over to pin you. Like, I'm acknowledging you did that, but it wasn't enough.
I think you could like kind of
for it.
Roll your arm a bit and maybe like do a little like and then go for the pin. But like, I think there's situations where you don't have to sell everything that happened in the match.
Well, okay, it's the 90% rule. Stuff that applies except when it doesn't. So I'll say it applies 90% of the time, and then there's a 10% of the time when it doesn't apply.
Like, I generally agree with you, but like, I hate when someone wants to nitpick a match and like, well, he didn't sell that leg work that was going on 20 minutes ago. And I'm like, yeah, because his leg probably doesn't hurt after 20 minutes because there hasn't been further work done to it.
Yeah, if you start by trying to work the leg and then you kick the guy off and you like sell that you're working it out or something like that, great. Okay, like you're showing me the recovery process. Mankind Shawn Michaels at Mind Games. What's he do right there in the middle of that is he starts doing stuff to try and get feeling back into his knee. Okay, you're showing me that part. I can get on board with that.
There's actually a really fun Backlund Valentine match from the 70s where I don't remember was it Backlund or Valentine? Like, one of them got in a leg lock and they rolled out of the ring, and he's literally on the floor like punching himself in the leg to get the feeling back.
Yeah. Yeah. But
and that one had a clever pinfall because Valentine was about to pin him, and it's at the 2 count, and Backlund smacked him on the back like he was the referee, and Valentine let up because he thought he won, and then he didn't.
That's clever. That's some inside baseball too. I mean, it worked for them, I guess, but
yeah. But I mean, I think it depends on the match. But like I said, I hate when someone's like, well, they didn't sell this thing that happened 20 minutes ago. I'm like, do you really think if like someone stepped on your foot, like let's say, you're going to feel it 20 minutes later, necessarily?
There's going to be a certain progression in it. But I'm of the opinion that by and large, sell. I mean, I know I've said it before. That's why Ospreay frustrates me. He just stops selling. He just quits. I'm just like, this shit, dude.
I like that.
I've tried.
Go for it, Matt.
I've tried to, I guess, give him some grace. That because he said he's neurodivergent. I've said before, not to diminish this. Like, I don't know if he's autistic as he said he is. Like, I don't know if he's been tested. I don't want to say that.
He said he suspects that he is, but he doesn't know for sure.
I only say that because I've worked with kids who've been autistic, so I'm not disparaging him. I'm just saying, like, I know kids who have. I've represented kids who have autism, varying levels. So I feel like he's a little too high functioning necessarily. But I can believe when he says like he has ADHD, like that to me, like a lot of things I see about him, kind of that tracks with me, like from what I've seen dealt with. Yeah. But I kind of give him some grace where it's like, okay, maybe like you're not selling as someone should because of that. I can believe that. But all things considered, it's like, well, that's why I personally can't necessarily
No.
grade you as like one of the best of all time. And not to bring up his ratings, but Meltzer, if you follow Dave Meltzer's ratings, it's like Will Ospreay is the greatest wrestler of all time because he's given him like 50 like 5-star matches, and it's like, I don't know about that, Dave, but I wouldn't put Ospreay as like one of the greats or even one of the best currently because of that. Like I think his psychology is off and his selling is off. And maybe it's because of that, but his ADHD or whatever. I don't know. Like I think he's great. I think he's a star. I think he's great. Like I think he's a good get for AEW. I think they will eventually put the title on him. I think it's a smart move. But
yeah, like it's not to my preference, but like from a business standpoint, like you'd be dumb not to. But
at some point, yeah, I could see it be like, well, you should put the title on Omega or Hangman Page next or Swerve, but
yeah,
I think eventually he should.
Yeah,
like
it's also why I vehemently argued you can't job Ospreay in his first title match because it'll hurt him too bad.
Yeah.
But I also, to go with your Ospreay thing though, I mean, you just saw me cause that consternation in the Discord. Like when I say like I don't like when I say I recognize that Manami Toyota is like a good worker, but she doesn't resonate with me. And like I like Akira Hokuto better, which I think Shad we kind of all agreed with when we did like a bunch of matches because she's kind of she's not a spot monkey because she does sell and stuff, but she just like kind of like goes from one move to the next, and there's kind of just I don't know, it just doesn't resonate with me. She's a little too like proto Ospreay in that regard. And it just doesn't. And people are like, how can you not like Manami Toyota? I'm like, she's like, I don't know. Like, I like some of the other faces better because they do like the little stuff better.
Well, that's also kind of a funny aside, just because like Toyota is probably Meltzer's favorite Joshi worker of all time.
Oh,
it's
she
like,
is.
Well,
She's
that
like,
would track then if she's like the most like Ospreay.
No, I think she's probably. I would say she's probably in his top 5 of like most 5-star matches. She's way up there, I think. I mean, she's inarguably good, but remember we watched the and it was it's a well-regarded match. We watched her versus like Kiko Inoue. And we had just watched it after I think like Akira Hokuto and like Bull Nakano, which is like a super emotional like face or seal match. We were kind of like with the Toyota Inoue match, we were kind of just like this didn't land with me. This is years ago, though. This is probably like 3 or 4 years ago now, but I just... Yeah.
And sometimes the taste just doesn't land, and that's okay. And like you said, Ospreay's over right now. So despite my quibbles, I would also say, well, it's like, yeah, do stuff with him.
But I think...
I'm not going to... just because I don't care for him doesn't mean I can't admit that it's the right move.
I think what we're talking
about.
I
like to think so anyway.
But I think all three of us, when we say that though, I think that is a very rare sentiment online because everyone has to have, everything has to be catered to my taste exactly or it's bad.
Yeah.
And like, so I think that's a rare sentiment because like for me, it's like, yeah, I don't really care for Ospreay. He's not to my taste, but like, oh no, they'd be stupid not to put the title on him or to job him in a title match. Like that would just be dumb.
Yeah.
And I think, because even with Mania, I don't know if they'll do it. I don't know what they're going to do with Cody and Cena, but I think I would put the title on Cena and let him have a little fun for a couple months.
If you have Cena turn heel to do this and then have him lose to Cody here, what do you do from that? Like, where do you go from there?
What's his last tour? He's going to go away. Well, no one ever truly goes away. But
my point is, it's not quite like that's not the last match in the tour. But what do you do?
I don't know.
You're going to take all the wind out of his sails right there.
I feel like they're going to put the title on Cena.
I feel like that's a smart thing to do.
But that's also like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to just have him be a heel, like beating eating guys until maybe like Cody wins it again by the end of the year, or I don't know.
Well, I think that's where I struggle because like they don't really the title really only changes hands at Mania now. Sometimes at SummerSlam, like they really don't do like a lot of title changes. And like, so when do you have Cody beat him? Like, do you go to SummerSlam? Probably not because they don't really do that. Like, because I was kind of thinking, you'd have to get Rock to go along with it. But what if you had just had like Rock interfere and cost Cody the title, and then you do Cody and Rock at SummerSlam, and then Cena can do a side thing, and then you can just bring them back together again to have Cody win at like Survivor Series or something.
I think you would need to do, yeah.
Because you kind of have the built-in stuff. So like, you could probably do like a mini program with LA Knight because they kind of have a bit of a history on screen together. You probably bring Punk back around for like, I don't know, the early summer, maybe SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Seth could be a fill-in title defense. Who else do they have on the face side? You could probably do Sammy. I don't think people would really ever think he's gonna win. Maybe do AJ. That'd probably get you to whatever you need to do with Cody again. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking they're gonna put the title on Cena, but like sometimes they don't do what I think is the logical, interesting move either.
Well, I'm with you. I'm with you guys. It's like, well, what are you gonna do with Cena if you don't have him win? The problem also, just in general, is like, okay, like if Cody becomes champion again, like at the end of the year, it's like what like heels do you have for him to face? Like,
I mean, you could conceivably build up Jacob Fatu in the year going up to that because
I guess are we not all just as fatigued as possible with bloodline stuff?
yeah, but you could break him off from that, and I don't think he's like. So, I know it's funny because he totally exposed Solo Sikoa as not being it, but like Jacob Fatu does have that like it factor, like you could like. You can do stuff with Jacob Fatu. Like he has star potential. He connects with the audience. Like he can work good enough. Like I think you could build him up to a credible challenge for the title at some point on a major show.
Or if you had somebody new and you just dropped him into the main event scene out of nowhere to give him context for, if that's where Jeff Cobb first shows up, then I would say, that may not be a bad use for it.
You could turn Punk heel and do Cody Punk because they haven't done that yet. Drew, but I don't know. I mean, Drew always gets people invested. You could do Cody Drew. I don't think they see Drew in that capacity. So I think so. You have Punk, you have Fatu, you have Drew McIntyre. I mean, you could turn Seth heel, but Seth always loses to Cody.
It's sad because honestly, like they should have pushed Drew as like the guy, and they wouldn't even do that with it's like the clearly like secondary title, like the BS like otherworld title. It's like you won't even like make him like the face of that. It's like really like
they did that so Damian Priest could like absolutely kill that belt's credibility dead because they put it on a geek.
Just to touch upon something we talked about earlier, like do either of you think that they're not going to have Jey Uso win?
I would have him win.
I think they're going to have him
probably
win. Like, should he? Like, I don't think he should in the sense that he sucks.
I think he sucks, but like from a business perspective.
But
from a business perspective, like no one cares about that title.
He's over with their audience.
Yeah, and
he's over with their audience. So yeah, I like he's going to win. Yeah. And they just did this angle where Gunther like just brutally like bloodied his brother Jimmy Uso. It's like after that, it's like they're gonna have him win.
And no one cares about that belt anyway. Like you start off night one, you have Jay win the belt so you can get all the 60,000 people yeeting and excited. And then who gives a shit after that? Because no one cares about that belt anyway. It's not. I don't think people aren't gonna not watch because Jey Uso has a fake beta cuck title. Like it's. They're at a point where they're pretty bulletproof. Like, and maybe like I don't know. It won't happen, but you never know. Like maybe something will catch on weird or something. They'll get like some little hot program out of it, or he'll randomly step to the plate. Like I wouldn't do it personally because I think he sucks, but I don't at this point. I don't see the point of not putting the belt on him because I don't know, something weird might happen.
It could, and I mean,
and like I said, you started off, you do some BS match no one will care about. You get the yeeting when he wins. It'll make their fans happy. So I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, well.
And you could just have Walter win it back on Raw the next night, and I don't think anyone would give half a shit anyway.
That's fair.
Yeah, because I mean, what ends up happening is they want. It seems like what happens at Mania is happening in a vacuum in a lot of cases because they want their moment, and then it's like. But it's the weirdest damn.
And fans, especially WWE fans, don't get a lot of those really feel-good moments very often. And like I said, he sucks. I don't think he's over or anything. But like, let the people get their title yeeting and move on. Like, I don't see the harm in having him win, and I can see like some downsides to not having him win.
You do that. You have him win. You give him a month run with it. You make some championship yeet shirts, and then you have somebody beat him to get some heel heat.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what. And
Go for it.
And I don't think it'll affect your business one way or the other, because it's not like he has the real world title. Like he has a fancy looking IC title.
Yeah.
So I don't see the harm. And like I said, you never know. Maybe something will catch on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't know. I don't know who you would have challenge Cody on the next go around, but I don't feel like they did much interesting with him during this first reign either. Because it was what?
I don't know, man.
Solo, AJ. They did like a Dominic Mysterio match, Walter, and then like Kevin Owens was like his slate of challengers.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You turned Sammy heel on him. That wouldn't be my preferred thing, but
you can, but I don't.
The problem is like the interesting stuff. Like those people are so far like gone as far as ever being credible threats. Like it just I think Cody Finn would be a really interesting main event, but like no one's gonna buy Finn as like a legitimate challenger at this point.
Yeah.
No. Look, I have historically been a Finn Balor fan, but even if you're a Finn Balor fan, it's like you got to realize like that ship has sailed a long time ago, like a long time. He's not the guy. He's not Prince Devitt from New Japan. Like that guy ended a long time ago, like a long time ago, years to this point. And it's not fair. Like he should have had a different career than he did. But at this point, he's like 40. He's in his 40s. Like
he's cashing checks. Like doing.
You could get like a pay-per-view main event out of him, like one. But it's like this is not going to be your. Yeah, exactly. Like this is not going to be your main.
Well, and
you're not even going to run this like SummerSlam. Like this is not going to be like your main.
This is like a Saudi Arabia. I know they do better stuff for Saudi Arabia, so you probably wouldn't even do that.
They also like, sacrificed his
Backlash main event.
Yeah. Great Balls of Fire.
They also sacrificed his big gimmick in the demon thing on the altar of Roman. So
Is that when he
it's like,
just fell off the top rope and like
yeah,
died?
yeah, that was it. He fell off the top rope and Roman pinned him. And
That
it's like,
happened in my town.
now I have to ask this question because when he showed up in WWE, at least main roster stuff, it seemed like every match of his that I saw, a drop kick, sling blade, sling blade, sling blade, shotgun drop kick, finish. Did he do more than that as
Yeah,
Prince Devitt?
if you go watch when he made that NXT UK appearance on one of their specials, like he was instantly doing more stuff.
Okay. It just bugs the hell out of me because it's
No, he
like,
does more stuff. It's just he dumbs it down for the main roster. Because I think even when he was in NXT, he did more than what he did on the main roster.
there was something going on at the time, and I don't remember why. I didn't hardly watch any NXT at that time, and at the moment, I couldn't honestly tell you why.
There was a couple years there coming here a couple times a year, and I went to several shows. But then like I got tired of it because then like it was a popular ticket for a while here that kind of died off, and then because I was going to it a lot, ROH was going a lot. Then ROH decided like that ticket I was getting for the second row that was like $40 needed to be like $75 for a much worse product, so I stopped going to ROH because fuck that.
Yeah.
Well, as an aside, like I was talking to my wife earlier tonight, and she was like, "What's the topic of your show tonight?" I'm like, "We're talking about Mania," and I had to tell her because she's been out of the loop on wrestling. She's not really a wrestling fan, but I'm like, well, one of the things we're going to talk about, well, not the main focus, but we're going to talk about Mania, and she's like, "Oh, like is all your art are your friends?" And she's talking about friends of the show. Christy Petrillo and Damien Gonzalez, who've gone. I've actually gone to Mania with them before. She's like, "Oh, are they all like going, and you're not going?" I'm like, "No, I think the era of us like going to WrestleMania is pretty much done." She's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because for like a ticket of like 2 or 3 people to go to Mania, you're looking at thousands of dollars now, thousands, and that's just the ticket to the show, not including like hotel, air flight, etc."
Food,
Because they've jacked up the price so much, and that's part of the discussion of this Mania. It's like people are like, "Oh, it's going to be one of the lower attended Manias," and they will still probably turn a record profit because they have jacked up the prices so much that night 1, night 2, they can have like 45,000 people show up in each night, which is obviously a far cry from like the 70,000, 80,000, however many people they falsely like identify as like showing up to the Manias.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be like far cry. Tens of thousands less than people usually show up, but they'll make more money because they've like the nosebleed seat's going to be like $500-$600.
Well, I think it's also going to be less because I think they booked a smaller stadium because they were going to soak their fans, so it was more feasible to do a.
Well, that was the really dystopian thing they did not long ago. Maybe it's like I think for Rumble.
Yeah, they said they got the highest grossing ever, and the crowd cheered for getting like.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, and it's like, why were you cheering the fact that they like bilked you out of more money?
Well, you know what's funny is, and they'll argue against this forever, but like, and some people will admit it, but like, those people didn't listen when a bunch of us like that follow UFC were like, well, they're gonna do this, this, and this, and they've done almost all of that to them, and they're like, hooray! And it's like, because like I think the first thing like UFC fans are like, oh yeah, get ready for those ticket prices to go up, and shows that have like one good match on it.
Yeah,
they've pretty much done all of it. The only thing they haven't done is like cheap out on the talent, which I don't know if that's going to start or not. I think that's
well, I mean, kind of, because I think we've seen with talent is that if someone wants to go to WWE, they'll go.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like a money thing, Tony Khan will pay them money if he wants them, and if they care about the money, they'll go there. Like people now leave. They'll jump from AEW, or if they're not in AEW, they'll sign with WWE if they actually like. There's something that they want There's certain things WWE will offer them, but it's not more money.
Well,
Like
that's
the Motor City Machine Guns. It's like, would Tony Khan have paid them more money? Probably, but they're both in their 40s. It's like, let's have one big run in WWE,
which hasn't
probably become trainers.
Which hasn't gone
Yeah,
well
like-
because they are not over.
They're not. It's not gone well. Like, look, it's Mania season. You don't even hear about like them being on the card. No one cares about them.
No,
Like,
because
no one.
because that's the thing. Like when Punk makes his comments, is people get super tribalistic online and stuff. It's just like WWE fans don't care about other promotions. Like they don't like.
They might as well don't even know they exist.
Yeah, and like the Motor City Machine Guns just are not that type of talent. But that's why like every time Punk makes like an AEW reference, it just dies because their fans don't care about AEW. They care about WWE.
Pretty much.
Or even like when we talk, like I've talked about that with like other people, like the Fed pillars are really annoying, but they're not the average fan. Like I think their average fan, like especially when they were on USA Network, is just someone that had watched forever. Like WWE is wrestling to them. They don't care about AEW. They don't care about Ring of Honor. They don't care about TNA. Like it's just they want to watch their wrestling, which I think is fine. I think that's fine. But like that's why the tribalism online annoys me so much because it's just like, look, like a large portion, like me, I just want. I'll watch numerous promotions, but it's like I'm just gonna watch what I want to watch. If I don't like it, I don't like it. Like I don't need to like go turbo rage about it online 24/7. And like even WWE, like I'll rip on them, but the first thing I'll tell you on here is like it's not for me. Like Matt and I were laughing at CM Punk last week about how he'll seethe over stuff like some people like us will say, and he shouldn't listen to us because we don't care about anything he's going to do. But like we're the people that'll like stick in his craw forever, which is just hilarious to me. Even though like like I said, I'll say like it's funny because Punk should listen to us because we're not the target audience, but I'm fine with that. It's just like WWE, yeah, I don't like it. I'll give you a million reasons why I don't like it, and I will trash on the stuff they do because I don't like it, but I will try to be pretty transparent on here anytime it comes up and say, yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Because I hate those people. I hate those disingenuous like grifters that are like, oh, AEW is so bad. And sometimes it's like, that's just a preference thing that you're trying to like tag on.
What should AEW do to be good again? Maybe they need to do this. It's like, no, they do not need to do. Where are you coming from? I'm just worried about their performance. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like, there's stuff we'll talk about that I think is empirically true. Like, when we talk about, like, WWE has too many title belts. I don't think that's subjective. Like, that is objective fact. They have too many titles. Like, when I say AEW could drop a couple of titles, that is objective fact.
I feel like that one of those is going to be, like, AEW is probably going to be getting rid of one of their belts. Like, I just gut feeling that we're going to see the Continental roll into the International. But
WWE's insane. Like, they have, like, I even forget, and I just see it on a title list. Like, they have like 5 main roster women's titles now.
One for each.
Because they have the 2 main titles, and they have the Intercontinental and United States women's titles, and then the tag titles.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that Intercontinental and like US. Oh, and they have the women's speed title. I don't know how. So you could argue 6.
Oh man. If you put a gun to my head and said who's a champion, I'd be like, I'm gonna die, I guess, because I don't have any idea. I don't even know who the
just turn and lean into it and look at him and go, dude.
Hold on,
you knew what you were doing when you did this.
Let's play a little game. Also, and then there's 3 NXT women's titles, I believe. There might be 4 now.
Yeah, they have the women's title, North American title, which is like, why do you need a mid-card NXT women's title? and the
And
tag
then-
titles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's
see
also
here.
not forget their whole WWE ID thing. Like they're doing a men's and a women's title for that.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Did
why?
did you watch the? I'm actually kind of hilarious that people took Meltzer's side where WWE like where Julia's injured and taking time off. Like, well, Julia's not injured, and then everyone was like, but like you're acting like she's injured. Like we believe Meltzer over you.
Mm.
Okay, so let's look here. So let's start with the women's championship. So obviously we know Tiffany Stratton's won, so I'll give you guys that. So do you know who the Raw women's champion is?
It's Io Sky, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're two.
Because she
for two.
just won it.
Yep. Now, do you know who? Let's find him here. Sorry, this is terribly. Okay. Do you want to know who the? Do you know who the women's speed champion is? And you're
No
probably not
clue.
even going to remember she's on the roster. I bet you won't. Candice LeRae.
I remember she was on the, well, I knew she was on the main roster, like SmackDown versus Raw, I don't know. But I didn't know she won the title.
Okay. Do you know who the women's tag team champions are? You'll never guess this one.
I think Liv Morgan's one of them, but I don't know who the other one is.
Yeah.
Is it Morgan Raquel
Yes,
Gonzalez?
you got it. The most.
I only know that because like it's like Raquel Gonzalez somehow got looped in with like the
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day, yeah.
She's like the most unover woman on the roster. Okay.
Which is sad in one respect because they were kind of positioning her like a couple of 2-3 years back as like the next big thing from NXT.
She has no personality.
Which I feel it's like diminishing returns because it's like, again, I'm old enough and it's like I just have a memory that goes back to like 8 years ago, which is at this point it's like forever in wrestling. But like 8 years ago, you'd have like the big NXT matchup in Mania was like Sasha Banks versus Bailey, and now like even like since then it was like, well, now like the next big thing in NXT, the NXT is Raquel Gonzalez, and it's like, well, that's a downgrade from Bailey and Sasha, but it's like, okay, well, let's make her a star. Like, okay, like
now it's
and now
Cora
it's like, who
Jade.
cares? Like,
Yeah, they're
ugh.
gearing up for another Cora Jade push. Honestly, the one that astounds me because I actually think she's regressed horribly because I liked her on the Indies, but Roxanne Perez, like, I feel like she just gets worse and worse and worse.
She's regressed. I actually saw someone in the timeline say like, had they already moved her back from the main roster to NXT? And it's like maybe
I don't even
because
know.
I think she's
but
now doing NXT stuff.
how would you even? But like they have like 4 matches per show. How would you even get her on TV with as few matches they have in the roster they have? Like they can't even get anyone on TV. Okay. Who wants to take a stab at who the women's United States champion is? And you might not even remember she's employed because she left and came back, I think.
So, based off of what you said, I am going to say Nia Jax because that's the only one I know that might fit your criteria.
No.
Okay.
Chelsea Green.
Oh,
You might not even remember she was on like the roster.
I knew she was around because in some of the places that I look for news stories and that sort of thing, her stuff's in there, but I did not realize that she was holding the US title.
Yeah, okay. And now the Intercontinental Championship, you're never going to guess. She was in NXT until recently. Let me see if she's a former. I'm going to see if I can give you a clue. So give me 1 second here.
Lash legend, Nikita Lyons.
She is a former NXT Women's Champion.
Uh,
And I think she had a feud with Becky last year. You're going to be overwhelmed. I'm just going to tell you.
Wait, what's the question?
Shayna Baszler?
It's the Women's Intercontinental Champion. If you missed it,
It's Chelsea Green, right?
No, she's the U.S. champion.
Oh,
This one's a former NXT Women's Champion, and she feuded with Bayley recently. I mean, no, she feuded with Becky Lynch recently. Like, I don't know.
Baszler?
No.
No.
She was in NXT until recently. You're probably not going to guess it. You might not even realize she's on the main roster.
Not Roxanne Perez.
No. This is like the generation before Roxanne for NXT women.
I don't know enough to even
Zoe
hazard a
Starks.
guess.
No. That would be hilarious, though, because Zoe Starks is so not over. It's hilarious. No, it's Lyra Valkyrie.
Dakota Kai?
Lyra Valkyrie. I would have guessed Dakota Kai for one of them. But
Lyra Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. I can't.
I'm not going to lie. I get her confused with Isla Dawn, who they just fired not that long ago.
Why did they fire her? She was like one of the best women on their roster.
Because they don't care. They don't care about that.
Oh, Chelsea Green's actually.
I don't. It's like, well, I don't know what to do with it. You know, what do we? In any event.
Let's see. Chelsea Green has been on NXT a couple times. She's been on SmackDown. 1, 2. Let's see. When did she win? She's only been on SmackDown twice, 3 times since the Rumble, and she's lost every match, I think. So that's interesting.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm fading pretty hard. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I mean, you're just so excited by the game show of who are the women's champions in WWE that you can't keep that energy level up anymore. I honestly would not have guessed. I could not have guessed any of those past the main 2 belts.
Like, I knew Morgan had one, but that was about all I had.
Is that more so that you would have like honestly guessed that, or you're just like, oh well, they probably just have it on Morgan?
No, I knew. Okay. I knew Morgan had one, but that was all I had.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna call it a night because I think we're all starting to fade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes that 11, like sometimes you hit like 11, 10, and it just like it's way downhill for me real quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that is it for this week. I don't know what we're doing next week. We'll have to talk about it. We might watch something, but
we shall see.
But thank you for watching us as always. This has been the 4Corners podcast with Matt, Shad, and Brad, and Craig Bott. So thanks for watching as always, and we will catch you